shaken. That is a big thing for me, to actively pursue a bear. Proud of myself for doing it and overcoming some fears, especially as he was getting closer, but I also protected camp so my little grandkids could still visit and see me.
Sue Aikens, the resilient star of Life Below Zero, has captivated viewers for years with her survival skills at Kavik River Camp. Recently, fans have been wondering what happened to Sue after rumors and speculation about her disappearance. From the heartbreaking loss of loved ones to being the subject of false death rumors, Sue has faced devastating challenges that have tested her both physically and emotionally. So, join us as we uncover the truth about what really happened to Sue Aikens. Imagine living in one of the most isolated places on Earth, with the nearest city 500 miles away and the closest road 80 miles away. It doesn't get much more remote than that, right? Now add sub-zero temperatures and a remote location shared with grizzly bears, and it becomes clear that only someone like Sue Aikens could call Kavik River Camp home. While Sue has faced many challenges on Life Below Zero, none are as harrowing as the tragic bear attack that occurred at her remote camp in 2007. According to reports, Sue had already seen the bear once before, burying caribou carcasses not far from her cabin. While many would have packed up, Sue, having lived with wildlife since her time on the show, understood what that meant. The bear was likely to return, and although that wasn't a problem, the spot the bear had chosen was too close to her airstrip. And to avoid a potential attack, she knew she needed to move the carcass. That patch of ground was the only flat space available for helicopters to land in an emergency, so Sue was left with no other choice other than to deal with the problem. Like any seasoned Alaskan, Sue left her cabin that fateful day with her rifle, but while operating the pump to draw water from the river, she needed both hands. She had no choice but to put her gun down. That one moment of vulnerability changed everything. The bear, which had been lurking nearby, suddenly came out of the riverbank and lunged at her. The attack was sudden and brutal. The bear knocked her to the ground before she could react. At that moment, Sue made a quick decision that likely saved her life. She remained still, not fighting back, and tried to appear non-threatening. While this might sound like a ridiculous thing to do, grizzly bears are often more interested in asserting dominance than feeding. Sue probably knew this and acted accordingly. The bear pushed her around, bit into her head, and left her with deep wounds and dislocated hips. Sue knew the bear would eventually back off, but it had already identified her cabin. With her injuries and the bear's strong sense of smell, she knew she had to protect herself. Luckily, she was able to gather strength and shoot it before her hips gave out on her. After a while, the bear eventually backed off, leaving Sue lying in the snow, bloodied. In scenarios like this, many would have panicked, but Sue did not. She patched herself up as best as she could, using her survival knowledge to sew up the wounds and reduce the risk of infection. With that, she managed to get back to her cabin as fast as she could. Back at her cabin, Sue tried to contact nearby pilots and even local state troopers for help, but her remote location made it nearly impossible for them to reach her. By the time she was rescued and airlifted to the hospital, she had spent more than a week alone, managing her injuries in extreme conditions. At the hospital, her hips were realigned, the wounds on her head treated, and the long process of recovery began. She later recalled how she could still feel the imprint of the bear's jaws on her scalp, a reminder of how close she came to death. Living alone in one of the most remote parts of the world means facing deadly threats every day. But Sue didn't shy away from that reality. In fact, she once said that if you choose her lifestyle, you have to be comfortable with your own death. That mindset is what allows her to keep going, even after surviving something most people couldn't imagine. Despite the tragic incident, Sue did not let the attack drive her away from her way of life. Since the attack, Sue has taken extra precautions to defend herself, always staying prepared for any potential threat. With over 13 years of appearances on the show, it is safe to say Sue is no stranger to life-threatening situations. She has survived a bear attack and has faced the harshest weather conditions Alaska has to offer. But while those threats came from the wild, another kind of danger has followed her from the digital world: false death rumors. Over the years, Sue has been the victim of multiple hoaxes claiming she had passed away. These fake reports have spread confusion among fans, triggered panic across social media, and led many to believe she had truly passed away, even when she was alive and well. One of the most recent cases happened in early 2023. Several media outlets reported that Sue had died. The headlines offered no clear source or cause of death. Some even used clickbait titles just to attract readers. But what made the situation worse was the timing. Around that time, a woman named Susan Aikens from Pennsylvania passed away. One fan on a Reddit community dedicated to the show shared that the news of Susan's death caused them to have a heart attack. Although the woman had no connection to the show, the similarity in names led many fans to believe that it was the television star. While Sue did not make a formal public statement addressing the rumors, her regular online activities spoke for itself. She was still posting photos and updates from Kavik River Camp. Her Instagram and Facebook pages remained active, showing that she was alive and living well in Alaska. For many fans, that was enough proof that the rumors were false. But that wasn't the first time Sue's death had been falsely reported. In the past, similar rumors had circulated, often tied to her health or her absence from new episodes of Life Below Zero. Whenever Sue took time off or appeared less frequently on the show, fans and media outlets began speculating about her well-being. The main reason why the rumors gained ground is because Sue lives a very private life in a very remote place. She is hundreds of miles away from the nearest hospital or media outlet. Also, she doesn't post updates regularly. That silence sometimes creates space for rumors to grow. Another reason these rumors spread quickly is due to the rapid dissemination of false information on the internet. Once a rumor gains traction on any social media platform, it can be copied and repeated across dozens of blog posts. And when the information is about a well-known television personality who lives in an isolated environment, the story seems believable to most people. In Sue's case, her lifestyle, past injuries, and limited public appearances have made her more susceptible to these false death rumors. People remember her bear attack and her previous statement about accepting the risk of dying alone in the wild. Despite the rumors, the truth is that Sue Aikens is alive. She continues to run Kavik River Camp and focuses on what matters most to her: her land, her camp, and her way of life. Away from her death rumors, Sue faced another tragedy in 2017 when she was injured in a forced stunt by the series producers. According to reports, Sue Aikens filed a lawsuit against Life Below Zero's producers after the incident. In the lawsuit, she claimed that the producers forced her to take part in scenes that were not only staged, but also unsafe. Her legal complaint named the BBC and 3 of its subsidiaries as defendants, along with one of the show's producers. While this is a norm in the media industry, it is also important to note that prior to the incident, Sue had signed an agreement with the producers of the show which stated she could not refuse to work or delay the filming schedule. The agreement gave the production team control over how scenes were filmed. Sue argued that this agreement left her without protection even when her safety was at risk. The lawsuit centers on an episode from Season 5 titled The Crash. The season aired between April and June of 2015, and filming for that episode took place in June of that same year. A camping scene was scheduled, and Sue had chosen a location she knew well. However, the producer reportedly insisted that the crew move to a different, more distant spot along the river. He said it would make for better footage. According to the lawsuit, the producer demanded Sue travel by snow machine and sled, despite her preference for the Argo ATV, which was better suited for icy terrain. Sue raised her concerns about the safety of this plan, but he allegedly refused to listen. She also said that the producer ordered her to leave her older dog behind at the camp. This upset Sue because she had signed on to be part of a documentary, not a scripted show that controlled her actions and choices. As filming continued, Sue suggested an alternative plan. She proposed to leave her tent and sled behind and go hunting for ptarmigan. This would have been a real and practical task since she needed meat and feathers. But he rejected her idea yet again and instead ordered her to ride along the river and go into what's called overflow. In layman's terms, an overflow is an area where water flows over the ice and weakens it. Sue objected again, warning that the ice was thin and could collapse under the weight of the snow machine. The situation escalated as the producer grew frustrated with Sue's resistance. He allegedly yelled at Sue and the safety crew, demanding they follow his orders since they worked for him, not for Sue. He even demanded that Sue remove her helmet so that her face would be visible on camera. At one point, the producer insisted Sue take credit for a risky plan to ride across the overflow quickly enough to avoid falling through the ice. She continued to resist, but the confrontation dragged on. Eventually, Sue reluctantly complied with his demands. While following the producer's orders, she hit an ice ridge and was thrown off her snow machine. She landed hard, recalling the painful sound of her bones snapping. To make matters worse, most of her winter gear had to be removed by crew members when they attempted to help her, leaving her exposed to the freezing temperatures. In addition to this, the producer made another decision that raised serious concerns. When the team returned to camp, he instructed the pilot to land at the far end of the mile-long runway. The reason, the suit claims, was to film Sue limping and in pain as she made her way to the plane. He wanted dramatic footage of her suffering, even though she was in urgent need of medical attention. Sue eventually received medical care, but the damage was already done. Though her lawyers did not specify the injuries in the court documents, they confirmed that Sue had undergone multiple surgeries. She now suffers from chronic pain in her back, legs, and arms. These injuries make it difficult for her to maintain her lifestyle in Alaska. In the lawsuit, Sue argued that the team breached their contract by putting her in harm's way during filming. She also claimed they interfered with her personal business at Kavik River Camp and caused her long-term emotional distress. Her attorneys requested a jury trial and sought unspecified damages for her physical and emotional suffering. During the back and forth at the court, BBC did not publicly comment on the case. The company's spokeswoman stated that they had not received a copy of the lawsuit at the time and could not provide a response. Although the resolution of the lawsuit wasn't made public, the best guess is that it was eventually settled out of court, with Sue returning to the screens in Season 6. Sue has undoubtedly earned the admiration of fans around the world, not just for her survival skills, but for her honesty and openness. However, one of the most difficult challenges Sue has faced was the heartbreaking loss of her beloved granddaughter, Drew McClurg. Drew, who was only 19 years old at the time of her passing, was very close to Sue. The loss shook Sue deeply, and in an episode of Life Below Zero, she opened up about her grief. For those who have followed Sue's journey on the show, it was shocking to see her vulnerable, breaking down in front of the camera. Her tribute to Drew in the episode was emotional, and it was clear just how much the loss affected her. Sue has always expressed how important her family is to her. Despite her isolated life in Alaska, her family has been a priority. She often shared heartfelt moments with Drew, expressing her love for her granddaughter on social media. On Drew's 18th birthday, Sue posted a message on Instagram, celebrating the young woman. In the post, Sue expressed how much joy Drew had brought into her life. She also mentioned that although her birthday presents hadn't made it in time, Drew's presence had filled her heart with joy every day. While Sue shared her grief with her audience, the details surrounding Drew's death weren't made public. She chose to keep the specifics private. This decision has left many fans wondering what happened, but Sue has made it clear that there are some things in her life that she does not wish to share. Losing a grandchild is undoubtedly a devastating experience for anyone, and for Sue, it was painful given her already isolated lifestyle in the Alaskan wilderness. Living in such a remote area means Sue faces life-threatening situations regularly, but the loss of a family member, especially so far away, added another level of difficulty. After the episode aired, fans took to social media offering their support for Sue during this painful time. Many fans were deeply moved by her tribute, sending their condolences and letting her know they were thinking of her and praying for her healing. These messages of support were vital for Sue as she dealt with her grief while continuing her life in isolation at her cabin. Losing Drew was a significant emotional blow for Sue, and it has affected her in ways that are not always visible on the outside. But Sue's heartbreaking tragedy didn't end there. She also lost her sister, Pam, who passed away unexpectedly in 2022. Although the exact details surrounding Pam's death were kept private for some time, it was later revealed that she died due to complications related to a medical condition. Before her passing, Pam had been a part of Sue's life in more than just a familial role. She was a support system for Sue during difficult times, offering emotional backing and a connection to the outside world. This is part of what made her loss so profound. Sue often shared that Pam was the only person who truly understood her way of life in the wilderness, always there for her when she needed to talk about her challenges. While the deaths of her sister and granddaughter deeply affected Sue, she faced another heartbreaking loss in 2023 when her dog, Lil Bob, passed away. Sue shared the sad news with her fans through a post on Instagram. In the post, she described Lil Bob as her bestest poochie and very best friend. Lil Bob was more than just a pet. He was one of Sue's loyal Malamute dogs, her companions in the remote wilderness of Alaska. Fans of Life Below Zero came to know and love Lil Bob, who appeared regularly in both the show's episodes and Sue's social media posts. His playful nature and constant presence around the camp provided comfort and companionship to Sue, as well as a sense of warmth for viewers. Fans were deeply touched by his antics and expressed their condolences after hearing of his passing. On Instagram, many fans left messages of support in the comments. But it didn't end there. In 2024, Sue faced another tragic loss when her second dog, Spritz, passed away. Just like Lil Bob, Spritz had been a faithful companion to Sue, sharing her isolated life at Kavik River Camp. On the morning of his passing, Sue shared a touching post on social media explaining that Spritz had peacefully decided it was time to join Lil Bob. Sue wrote that Spritz passed during his morning nap, sharing her deep gratitude for the years of companionship he had brought into her life. In her post, Sue shared how happy she was that Spritz had chosen her and her daughter to share his golden years. She described the joy and companionship Spritz brought into her life, saying he was a loyal friend who filled her days with love and happiness. Spritz was a constant presence in Sue's daily routine, joining her on walks and assisting with tasks around the camp. Despite her losses, Sue continued to work and live in her remote camp. Although Life Below Zero has wrapped up, Sue continues to live as an independent survivalist, running her camp, which she has opened to tourists.